The hololab should have been silent at this hour, its crystalline consoles dimmed and its floating diagrams resting in standby mode. Instead, a tremor rippled through the room, light at first, like someone had knocked on the station's outer hull. Lyra Hale looked up from her notes. The trembling intensified. Then the world shattered. A compressed wave of blue-white plasma tore through the far wall, splintering the energy panes and flinging shards of hard light across the room. Alarms shrieked. Students dove under tables or scrambled toward exits. The shockwave slammed into Lyra, lifting her a few centimeters off the ground before her boots reconnected with the floor. She didn't fall. Her body absorbed the impact automatically. But the rest of the lab descended into chaos. A group of feline Phalori bolted for the corridor, claws scraping against the metal tiles. A cluster of float-winged terrifies hit the floor, wings twitching in shock. Even the towering, armored Therics stumbled, their plated exoskeletons buckling under the pressure wave. Lyra stood perfectly still. Her ears rang, but not a scratch marked her skin. The others noticed. "She's not hurt," someone whispered. "Deathworlder," another voice hissed. Of course she survived. She ignored them. Her attention narrowed on the blast site, a scorch mark shaped like a fractured star, flickering with residual plasma. Something felt wrong. This wasn't an accident. The pattern was too clean, too deliberate. Footsteps thundered outside, followed by a deep, cold voice. "Clear the room. No one moves." Rector Vorith entered, flanked by 3 armored guards. His obsidian scales reflected the pulsing red emergency lights. Eyes like polished ice swept over the devastation, then fixed on Lyra with pinpoint precision. "Human," he said. "Explain." Lyra breathed slowly, keeping her hands at her sides. The explosion happened at the far wall. I was taking notes when. "Do not insult this institution with half-formed excuses," Vorith snapped. "The epicenter is adjacent to your workstation." "It isn't." "I sit there." She pointed to her console several meters away. A guard hesitated. "Rector, she's right. Her station's intact." Vorith didn't look. "Irrelevant. A Deathworlder can cross that distance between blinks." Lyra swallowed the instinctive retort that rose. Anything she said would sound defensive, and defensive meant guilty. She steadied her voice. "I didn't cause this." Vorith's frilled crest tightened. "You were unharmed when others were injured. That alone proves the threat you pose." "I'm unharmed because humans evolved under extreme pressures," Lyra replied. "That doesn't make me responsible. Your biology is not the issue." His lips curled. "Your presence is." Behind Lyra, the lab doors hissed open again. A small, trembling figure hurried inside. "Lyra." Rin scurried across the floor on 6 thin, chitin-lined limbs. Their emerald carapace glinted in the emergency light. "I saw the alarms, are you?" One guard leveled a restraint baton at Rin. "Stay back." Lyra stepped subtly in front of her friend. Rin had nothing to do with this. Vorith's gaze flicked to the insectoid student. "Then perhaps you wish to defend the evidence implicating your human." "What evidence?" Lyra asked. Vorith gestured sharply. A guard produced a small device from a sealed container, a burned, half-melted fragment of a charge pack. It was placed in the center of the room like a trophy. "This was found 2 meters from you," Vorith said. "A human-made trigger." Lyra crouched slowly, examining it. The alloy was wrong. The circuitry was fragmented into curved lines rather than angular ones. Human tech rarely used curvature. "This isn't ours," she said. "Its casing structure matches Archelian design." Vorith's pupils narrowed. "Are you accusing my species of sabotage?" "I'm stating the engineering facts." Gasps rippled through the remaining students. Even the guards stiffened. It was unthinkable for a 17-year-old human to confront a rector, especially this one. Vorith stepped closer until his shadow covered her. You humans believe yourselves clever, he murmured. Strong enough to withstand elements that would obliterate other species. But resilience is not innocence. His voice cooled further. And ignorance is not a shield. Rin mustered their courage. Rector Vorith, with respect, you're jumping to conclusions. The explosion pattern was directional, not radial. That means the charge was placed deliberately, aiming. Silence. Vorith's voice whipped across the room like a blade. This academy will not be lectured by an arthropod whose colony barely qualifies as sapient. Rin flinched. Lyra's jaw tightened. That's enough, she said quietly. Vorith turned his full attention back to her. You will return to your quarters under escort. A formal hearing will be held at 9th bell tomorrow. Until then, you are suspended from all academy functions. What about the investigation? Lyra asked. It is concluded, he replied. He hadn't even looked at the room. 2 guards stepped forward. Lyra didn't resist as they escorted her through the corridor. Her stride remained steady, her breathing even. The station lights buzzed overhead, flickering as emergency protocols reset. Students lining the hall pulled back against the walls as she passed, some trembling, others staring with wide, fearful eyes. Deathworlder. Dangerous. Unpredictable. She heard the whispers but kept her gaze forward. Rin hurried beside her despite the guards' disapproving looks. Lyra, someone planned this. You know they did. I know. Her voice was calm, but her mind wasn't. The sabotage fragment had been carefully placed, as if the saboteur wanted her to be found near it, and wanted Vorith's ruling before evidence mattered. Rector Vorith has been hostile since day one, Rin whispered. He never wanted a human here. This gives him what he wanted. Lyra nodded once. She couldn't deny it. At the junction leading to her dorm wing, the guards stopped. Inside, one ordered. Lyra stepped across the threshold. The lights came on automatically, soft and even. The door slid closed behind her with a cold hiss. For a moment, she stood in silence. Her heart thudded slowly, controlled. She replayed the explosion, the blast arc, the scorch marks, the device fragment, Vorith's reaction. Nothing was random. Nothing was accidental. Someone had framed her. And Vorith intended to seal the verdict before morning. Lyra crossed to her desk, activating her personal console. A map of the hololab appeared. She marked the blast site, measured angles, traced energy residue flows. Her jaw tightened. The charge was planted, she murmured. And whoever did it had access only staff possess. She leaned back, eyes narrowing. I'm not going down for their lies. A soft tapping sounded at the door, 3 quick taps, then 2. The guard password for visitor allowed. The door opened a crack. Rin slipped through. I brought something. They held out a tiny shard with trembling pincers. This was stuck in the ceiling panel above your station. I don't think Vorith wants anyone to see it. Lyra took the fragment gently. It matched the saboteur's device perfectly. She exhaled once, steady. Thank you, Rin, she said. Tomorrow, they want to judge me. Her eyes hardened. But first, I'll judge the evidence. And for the first time since the explosion, a spark of something sharp flickered inside her. Resolve. Night on Station Zephyr 9 never truly felt dark. Soft gold currents from the gas giant drifted through the viewports, brushing the corridors with a faint glow. Most students slept at this hour, but Lyra Hale kept moving. She slipped out of her dorm room after the guards rotated shifts. The timing was precise, humans were good at watching rhythms others ignored. Rin followed quietly, their steps tapping lightly across the corridor floor. You're sure the hall monitors won't flag us? Rin whispered. They scan for thermal spikes, Lyra said. Your carapace diffuses heat. Mine is steady. We'll blend. Rin nodded, though their antennae twitched with nerves. The two moved toward the hololab. The station hummed underfoot, the faint vibration of oxygen recyclers mixing with the distant rumble of passing transport modules. As they rounded a corner, Lyra slowed. A pair of serpent-like Nidhari lounged near the lab entrance, their eyes half-lidded. They weren't guards, just students who had lingered out of curiosity or fear. One of them noticed Lyra. His spine arched instantly. Why are you here? His voice came out as a warbling hiss. Passing through, Lyra said. You shouldn't be loose, the other muttered. You're suspended. I'm walking to the cafeteria, Lyra replied. Both Nidhari recoiled as if she'd threatened them. Neither dared block her path. She moved past without further interaction. Rin scurried close behind. The hololab door remained sealed with a restrictor field, but Lyra knelt and examined the lower panel. A thin filament of green light flickered beneath it. Rin, she said quietly, you know interface nodes better than I do. Rin glanced around before lowering themselves beside her. Their fine manipulators touched the panel, tracing a point Lyra had overlooked. A faint click sounded. The field dissolved. How did you? Arthropod reflexes, Rin said, voice low. We notice small vibrations others miss. They slipped inside. The lab felt colder at night. The blast site remained untouched, the fractured wall humming softly with lockdown containment fields. Lyra's steps were quiet as she crossed the room. She stopped where the explosion had begun. Look, she said, pointing at the scorch pattern. Rin leaned in. Directional burn. You were right. The charge didn't spread outward. It aimed inward. Lyra traced the angle with her hand. Someone set it to detonate toward this console region. Rin's antennae stiffened. Toward the students? Yes. And yet Vorith blamed you. Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she crouched and examined the rubble. Her finger brushed against a shard half buried under spilled circuitry. Metal chimed softly when she lifted it. Another fragment of the device. This one had a partially intact serial code, curved lines etched into the alloy. Archelian manufacture, Rin whispered. Which means Vorith was lying when he said it was human-made, Lyra said. Or he didn't care to verify. He cared, Lyra said. Too quickly. A faint static crackled across the overhead speakers. Both froze. Did you hear that? Rin whispered. Lyra scanned the ceiling. Security system adjusting. Not unusual. But something in her gut tightened. She moved further into the lab, studying the edges of the containment field. A faint trail of melted insulation marked a path leading upward into the ceiling tiles. She followed it with her eyes. That's where the fragment you found came from, she said. Let's check the panel. Rin climbed a nearby console and reached the ceiling tile. Their fine claws pried it loose. Inside, a hollow compartment lined with exposed wires glimmered under emergency backup lights. Rin's pupils widened. There's residue in here, they said. This compartment was used recently. Someone hid the device here, timed the trigger, and slipped away before the blast. Someone with access, Lyra added. And clearance. Rin swallowed. Lyra, only staff members can open ceiling maintenance compartments. That settled a weight in Lyra's chest. A staff member framed her. She turned to leave, but the lab door slid open before she reached it. 3 alien students stepped inside, 2 rigid-shelled Drylacs, and 1 feathered Evren whose eyes glowed gold with agitation. The Evren lifted his wings. You shouldn't be here. I'm investigating the sabotage, Lyra said evenly. The Drylacs twins blocked the exit, clicking their mandibles in sync. Our species council warned you humans are dangerous. We're not letting you destroy this place. Rin stepped in front of Lyra, voice trembling. She didn't do anything. You're making a mistake. The Evren shot forward an inch. Move aside, insect. Lyra stepped past Rin, placing herself between her friend and the trio. Her voice stayed level. I don't want to fight. Then surrender, one Drylax hissed. No. The Evren lunged. Lyra sidestepped with sharp precision. The movement was effortless, a reflex tuned by a lifetime on a world where predators pounced from shadows. Her hand caught the Evren's wrist mid-strike. She twisted just enough to shift balance without breaking bone. The Evren collapsed to the floor, feathers scattering around him. The Drylax hesitated. I don't want to hurt you, Lyra said. But I won't let you harm us. Her tone wasn't threatening. It was factual. The Drylax backed away, dragging the dazed Evren toward the hall. You're proving our fears, one spat. No, Lyra said quietly. I'm proving control. The doors closed behind them. Rin exhaled shakily. That could have been much worse. It was planned, Lyra said. Someone sent them to provoke me. To make you look aggressive, Rin whispered. Lyra nodded. We're running out of time. The hearing is at 9th bell. If we don't expose the saboteur before then. We will, Rin said, finding resolve. There's still one place we haven't checked. Lyra already knew the answer. Veilrix's office. They left the lab, moving quickly through the hushed corridors. The pressure of time pressed against Lyra's chest, but she forced her breathing steady. Her mind worked through each piece of evidence. Fragment in the ceiling. Directional blast. Archelian alloy. Convenient witnesses. Veilrix's immediate accusation. It was all too perfect. They arrived at the administrator's level. The hall was empty, late-night staffing was minimal. Rin tapped a private conduit leading to the office's control panel. The lights shifted, granting temporary access. You're good at this, Lyra murmured. My colony values subtlety, Rin said softly. Sometimes it's the only way to survive. The office door slid open. The room was dim, illuminated only by the glow of star charts. Lyra moved toward Veilrix's desk. Her fingers brushed across the surface until she found the datapad's docking point. The hearing evidence will be stored here, she whispered. Rin climbed onto the desk and inspected the datapad's edge. They tapped a sequence along the side panel. A hidden screen flickered on. Logs appeared. Lyra leaned closer, and her breath caught. The device detonation timestamp matched the exact moment Veilrix had been logged entering a restricted access corridor leading straight toward the hololab. He had been there. Seconds later, an encrypted note appeared. Human liability must be removed before confirmation vote. Rin whispered, Lyra, this isn't just about you. It's political. Lyra closed the datapad. Then tomorrow, she murmured, the truth will be public. She turned toward the door, her gaze sharpened by purpose. We end this at the hearing. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Vorith Interstellar Institute resembled an open amphitheater carved from obsidian. Rows of students, faculty, and council representatives filled the descending circles, their voices low with tension. 92 species gathered under the suspended holodome, its surface swirling with stars. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform, cold, polished, and bare. A single figure waited there. Lyra Hale. She stood straight, hands relaxed at her sides, expression calm. The light from the dome cast faint blue halos across her cheekbones. Though surrounded by hundreds of beings who viewed her as a threat, she showed no fear. Above her, Rector Veilrix stepped onto the opposite platform. His scales glimmered with authority. The moment he appeared, the murmurs shifted into silence. This hearing will now begin, he announced, voice sharp as frost. We convene to address the threat posed by Lyra Hale, human student, charged with orchestrating an attack on Academy grounds. Lyra kept still. The accusation floated in the air like a knife suspended by thread. Veilrix gestured to the crowd. Before presenting the evidence, let it be acknowledged that humanity is a recently admitted species to the compact. Their world is hostile. Their bodies are built for violence. Their instincts lean toward aggression. What happened in the hololab reflects the danger they represent. He turned to her. You may speak before we proceed. Lyra met his gaze. I didn't attack the lab. And I'm not here to defend my biology. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Veilrix's lips curled. You begin with denial, predictable. Rin stepped forward from the side gallery, trembling but determined. She isn't lying. We found evidence that contradicts. Silence, Veilrix snapped. You are not permitted to testify. Lyra's jaw tightened. Let them speak. You are not in a position to demand anything, Veilrix said. A council member raised a thin, luminescent arm. The insectoid may speak. Truth must be heard from all sources. Veilrix paused, irritated, then gestured stiffly. Rin swallowed hard. The explosion was caused by a device built with Archelian alloy. We found fragments in the ceiling panel, far from Lyra's station. She was framed. Murmurs spread again, louder this time. Veilrix's eyes hardened. Speculation. A desperate attempt to redirect blame. It isn't speculation, Lyra said. We accessed your administrative logs. Gasps erupted. Veilrix's frill flared violently. You infiltrated my office? No, Lyra replied. We followed evidence you ignored. She reached into her pocket and held up the datapad, its screen locked, but its presence unmistakable. You logged entry into a restricted corridor minutes before the blast, Lyra continued. Your note confirmed the motive, human liability must be removed. The room froze. 1 heartbeat. 2. Veilrix stepped forward, voice brittle. Fabricated. Your encryption key was still active when we checked, Lyra said. Only the author could have left it so exposed. Whispers surged in the hall. A feathered seraphi leaned toward its neighbor. He intended political sabotage. A hulking Therix muttered, this is treason. Veilrix raised a hand. Order! These fabricated claims are meant to distract from the human's inherent threat. I will not. The guards beside him stiffened. Something had changed in the room. A tension that didn't come from fear of Lyra, but from fear of the truth. Veilrix sensed it too. His voice sharpened. Guards, restrain her now. 2 Archelian guards moved toward Lyra, weapons humming. Rin cried out. Stop! She didn't. 1 guard shoved Rin aside. Lyra reacted instantly. She stepped between the guard and her friend, catching the descending baton mid-swing. The weapon crackled against her palm, its energy field hissing. She didn't flinch. The guard tried to pull back. She didn't allow it. With a minimal, precise shift of her wrist, she redirected the weapon away from Rin and planted the guard's momentum into the floor. The alien hit the ground hard, but without a single broken bone. A deliberate choice. The second guard lunged. Lyra sidestepped, pivoting with clean efficiency. Her hand tapped the guard's elbow, disrupting balance. His legs folded beneath him. He slid across the platform, stunned but unharmed. The hall went silent. Hundreds of beings stared, breath caught between awe and alarm. Lyra hadn't attacked. She hadn't escalated. She had neutralized 2 armed guards without harming them. Veilrix's voice cracked. You see? Monster. No, a deep, resonant voice interrupted from the council seats. A Therix elder rose, towering above the rows. His armor plates clicked, a sign of deep contemplation. What we saw, the elder said slowly, was restraint. A seraphi counselor unfurled her iridescent wings. A deadly species, yet she chose not to injure. Her actions reflect discipline, not aggression. A crystalline Viore added, voice chiming like glass, this contradicts the rector's claims. The pressure in the hall shifted. The narrative Veilrix had tried to build for months, humans as uncontrollable, destructive beings, crumbled in real time. Rin climbed shakily to their feet. Lyra didn't harm anyone. She protects more than she fights. Lyra spoke quietly, but her voice carried. Humans aren't perfect. Our world shaped us to endure. But endurance isn't violence. It's choice. And I've made mine every day since I arrived here. Vorith slammed his claw against his control podium. Enough. All of this is a manipulation. But the data pad in Lyra's hand chimed. Its holodisplay activated automatically. His encrypted message glowed across the room for all to see. Human liability must be removed before confirmation vote. No twisting. No denial. The evidence was undeniable. The council chamber erupted. Voices overlapped, accusations, outrage, shock. Vorith stumbled backward as if the crowd's reaction had struck him physically. You plan to sabotage the human, a counselor barked. And endanger dozens of students, another added. Your actions undermine the compact, a third declared. Vorith tried to speak, but no one listened. Two neutral wardens stepped forward and seized him by the arms. This is unlawful, he snarled, thrashing. Humans don't belong here. They are a danger to the galaxy. Lyra met his frantic gaze calmly. The only danger today came from you. He froze, momentarily silenced not by force, but by truth. The wardens dragged him away. His voice faded into the corridor, swallowed by distance. Silence settled over the hall once more. Counselors gathered around Lyra. Some kept a respectful distance, others offered subtle gestures of acknowledgement. None looked at her with the fear that had filled their eyes the day before. The Therix elder bowed his head. Today, you proved humanity worthy of the compact. The Viori's crystalline voice chimed softly. And you revealed a traitor in our midst. That courage will not be forgotten. Rin stepped beside Lyra, antennae trembling with relief. You did it. We did it, Lyra corrected. You found the first clue. A quiet hum filled the hall as the assembly prepared to adjourn. Lyra looked up at the swirling stars projected above, feeling the weight of countless eyes, no longer staring in fear, but in recognition. She exhaled once, slow and controlled. Let this be recorded, a counselor announced. Lyra Hale is cleared of all charges and reinstated immediately. Applause rose, not loud, but steady, echoing like a promise. As the hall began to empty, Rin nudged her gently. What happens now? Lyra looked at the doors where Vorith had vanished. Now, she said, we learn what humanity can become among the stars. The day after the hearing, the Academy felt different. It wasn't quieter, Zephyr and I never slept, but the atmosphere carried a new current. Conversations hushed whenever Lyra Hale walked by, yet the tone had shifted from fear to something far more complex. Curiosity. Respect. Uneasy admiration. The hallways, once hostile, now held hesitant glances instead of recoiling stares. Lyra kept her stride steady, though a part of her remained wary. Acceptance, especially here, was fragile. Rin scurried beside her, antennae flicking like excited metronomes. Everyone keeps looking at you. They always looked, Lyra replied. Now they don't hide it. Rin tilted their head. Before they looked away. Today they stare. Better than flinching. They reached the atrium overlooking the gas giant. Amber storms churned silently below the transparent dome. Students gathered there between classes, exchanging gossip or reviewing data. Today, the conversations dissolved when Lyra stepped in. The Evren she disabled the night before stood near a fountain. His wings folded tight. He hesitated, then approached with visible effort. I owe you an apology, he said, feathers trembling. I attacked you without cause. You were misled, Lyra answered, calm but not dismissive. He lowered his gaze. Still, you could have broken every bone I have. You didn't. That matters. Lyra nodded. Let's not repeat it. The Evren exhaled in relief and returned to his group, feathers relaxing. Rin leaned closer, whispering, You're becoming a legend already. Lyra didn't want to be a legend. She wanted a chance to study without navigating layers of prejudice. But legends were easier to build than trust. They continued toward the council wing. A mandatory debrief awaited her. The academy wanted to evaluate her state of mind after the hearing. She considered it unnecessary, but required procedures were unavoidable. As they turned a corner, a sharp, metallic scent struck Lyra's senses. Rin stiffened. "Do you smell that?" "Yes." It carried a faint tang, ozone mixed with scorched alloy. The scent of plasma residue. "Left over from the explosion?" Rin asked. "No," Lyra said slowly. "Fresh." She scanned the corridor. The lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows. A faint vibration tingled through the floorboards, something moving within the walls. Rin's voice dropped to a whisper. "Someone's here." Lyra motioned for silence and approached a narrow maintenance hatch. The faint glow beneath the edges indicated recent tampering. She pressed her palm against the panel. The hatch warned, recognizing the energy differential. Someone had just closed it. "Stay behind me," she murmured. Rin obeyed. Lyra slid the hatch open and leaned inside. A narrow crawlway stretched into darkness, pipes running parallel to its floor. The scent of plasma thickened. A sound echoed, a soft scuttle. Someone fleeing. Lyra climbed in without hesitation. Rin followed, though more carefully. The crawlway dipped and turned, leading deeper into the station's infrastructure. A faint trail of heat lingered on the metal, guiding her path. Why would anyone hide in maintenance tunnels today of all days? Rin whispered. "Because Vorith wasn't working alone," Lyra said. That truth had become obvious the moment the rector was dragged out of the hearing. Sabotage at this scale required planning, resources, and, most importantly, support. Someone else was tying off loose ends. The crawlway opened into a junction where several conduits intersected. The air vibrated with the hum of power lines. Then she saw movement. A slender silhouette darted across the far end, disappearing behind a coolant pipe. Lyra followed swiftly. Rin hurried behind, clicking anxiously. "Stop!" Lyra called. The figure bolted. She accelerated, closing distance with calculated efficiency. Her boots skimmed over metal grating without sound. Her heartbeat remained steady, purpose sharpening her focus. The figure scrambled through another hatch and into a dim service hall. Lyra pushed through seconds later. And froze. The person standing at the far end was not a student. It was an Archelian technician, one of Vorith's assistants. His scales dulled with stress, eyes wide. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed. "You were at the lab the night of the explosion," Lyra said. "You accessed the ceiling panel." The technician's eyes widened. I didn't want to be part of it, but the rector, he said humanity would bring war. He said he was preventing disaster." "You planted the charge?" she asked. "No. I just placed the housing." He set the device. His claws shook. "When the hearing turned against him, I thought they'd discover my involvement." "So you're removing evidence?" He didn't deny it. Rin stepped beside Lyra. "Help us expose the rest. You're not beyond saving." The technician hesitated, trembling under the weight of the truth he'd carried for weeks. "Vorith had supporters," he whispered. "Other administrators. They wanted humans out before they ever settled here." Lyra felt something cold settle in her chest. "Names. I have files, logs, hidden near the outer hull conduits. But they'll detect me if I retrieve them." "Then tell us how to get there," Lyra said. He swallowed, then nodded. "Pathway 9, Sublevel 3. There's a security bypass hidden under the coolant duct." A sudden metallic bang echoed from behind him. The technician jerked. "They're here." Lyra tensed. "Who?" He didn't answer with words. His eyes flashed with raw fear before he turned and sprinted toward the whole junction. Lyra darted after him. A warning shriek came from behind, a blast of heat burst from the overhead pipe as a plasma cutter sliced through metal. Sparks rained across the hall. Someone was trying to seal the corridor shut. Rin cried out, "Lyra, go!" She pushed forward. The technician reached the junction hatch, only to have it collapse inwards as a forceful surge of white-hot energy struck from behind. He fell, a cry ripped from him as smoke billowed around his form. Lyra reached him and pulled him clear of the molten edges. His breathing was shallow, but he was alive. Footsteps echoed from the other end of the hall, heavy, deliberate, and numerous. Not students. Not staff. Security forces sent to erase remaining ties to Veilrix's scheme. Rin tugged Lyra's sleeve urgently. "We need to move now." Lyra lifted the wounded technician with careful strength. His weight was nothing to her. She turned to Rin. "Lead us to the nearest safe conduit." Rin scurried ahead, tapping panels and shifting through maintenance pathways with practiced precision. Behind them, the approaching steps grew louder. They slipped through a side hatch just as beams of searching light swept the hall behind them. In the narrow service tunnel, the technician clung weakly to Lyra's shoulder. "You could have left me. I'm done letting people be used and discarded," Lyra said. The technician lowered his gaze. "Then, there's hope for this place." Rin stopped at a junction. "Here, this route leads toward the lower data bay. It's hidden beneath 2 shielded layers. They won't follow without authorization." Lyra nodded. "We'll get him safe. Then we retrieve those logs." Rin's antennae flicked. "And expose everyone involved." Lyra adjusted her grip on the technician, eyes sharp with resolve. "This isn't just about survival anymore," she said. "It's about cleaning out everything Veilrix built." The tunnel ahead glowed faintly with promise and danger. Lyra stepped forward without hesitation. The fight wasn't over. It had only shifted into the shadows.